Hello there, my name is Susan Hamilton and you're watching OffBeat Business TV or listening to OBBM Radio or listening to the OBBM Network Podcast. You can find all that information on Google Play Music or iTunes or even in your OffBeat Business app where you can follow all of our content right in the palm of your hand. Today I'm really excited to talk to you about what we're doing with Ziglar Blue and the upcoming Blue Dragon International Conference called Developing a Bulletproof Mind and a Bulletproof Heart.
You're listening to the OffBeat Business Show, rebuilding American business influence locally, nationally, and abroad, bringing you experienced insight for a strong, influential brand and successful life in business. Here's your host, Susan Hamilton.
Specifically to address the needs of our first responders in the community who've been going through quite a bit. Now, a lot of times you see in the media things that may be perceived as a knee-jerk action by an officer. You might see things that look a little cruel and may not understand that. We believe that it's very, very important for you to recognize that these people who protect and serve us are going through a whole lot. And if we come alongside them the way we need to as a community, lifting up those warriors, we are going to be better protected and their families are going to be able to reap the benefits of having had a family member taking care of the community. What an honor. I've got Tom Ziglar today and Richard Morris of Ziglar Blue and Tom Ziglar, the son of Zig Ziglar and the entire Ziglar legacy. So how exciting. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, thank you for having a heart for this space. We've talked with Richard a little bit in an earlier interview this year about what he's doing and where his heart is for the officers. Can you refresh our memory just a little bit about why you felt it was so important to reach out to our officers this way?
Well, I've been a police officer now for nearly 40 years. I retired after 36 with Fort Worth as gang intelligence sergeant. And I have seen where officers go through great difficulty. I'm also on the critical incident stress management team still, and on the peer counseling team. And so we need to do something to help these guys. And when I retired, I knew that I could go and see an old friend, it's Tom Ziglar, and get some help from him to prepare me to help prepare others. Ziglar has the absolute best training. There's not a better name than Ziglar in the marketplace, but also I knew him personally, and Zig was the man who literally walked the talk. I've seen him hold Gene's hand in church. I've even seen him kiss, and they're on like the second or the third row. And so I figured, well, it's okay for me to do at home with my wife and kiss in church too. But I know that our police officers right now need help and encouragement. And so I went to become a Ziglar Legacy speaker with Tom and his company. And it has prepared me, I think, not just to do business seminars and this type of thing, though that's good. My calling is to help our police. So that's where my focus is as long as I live and breathe until I'm gone.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so
Thank
much. Tom, I just reached over to you before we started and I said, I don't know that I've seen that pin. And I'm a little ashamed of that because you said it's the Ziglar legacy, it's the pin. And I've seen that pump inside the morning devotionals that I get to attend here and there. I don't get over there every Monday morning, but you pull a fine group of business professionals together on Monday mornings to make sure we've got our priorities straight and then move out into the day. Would you tell our audience a little bit about that pin?
Sure. The pump pin, what you're referring to, it's the story of life. It's an old-fashioned water pump. Have you ever used an old-fashioned water pump to get water out of the ground?
Yeah, my grandpa actually used to take me to do that.
So what's the first step? If it hadn't been used in a while, what do you have to do to get water out of that pump?
Well, you've got to prime that pump.
You got to prime the pump. You got to put a little bit of water in to get something out.
Ah.
This is Dad's iconic presentation. In life is the same way. In order to get something out of life, we got to put something in first. And then we go to pumping like crazy. And here's something that's interesting. The harder it is to get out, the longer, the more strenuous the pumping, what that means is the well is very, very deep. The deeper the well, the sweeter, the cooler, the purer the water, the more satisfying it is. Life is the same way. The things that are difficult, that are hard, that are worth doing, they take longer. And if we keep on pumping, eventually we get the reward. Now the problem is people give up too soon. They'll pump, 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 nothing happens, and what they don't know is the water is just about to come out, but they stop. And so what we do is come alongside and give them hope and encouragement, a plan, a reason to keep going, the why that makes the big difference. Once the water starts to come forth of a pump, it's a slow, steady pressure. Life is the same way. When we pour our lives into something that has meaning and purpose, we learn the professional skills, we get the mindset that's gonna allow us to succeed. We put the plans in place and follow through, and we work, 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 and then the results start to come. Then we can just do the steady pressure. And Richard, that's really why I love Ziglar Blue. And at Ziglar, what we teach is this wheel of life concept.
Yes, I've seen that.
Everybody in their wheel of life, there's 7 spokes on this wheel. Everybody has these 7 spokes. The mental, the spiritual, the physical, the family, the financial, the personal, and the career. And if you were to look at your life and give yourself a score from 1 to 10 on each one of those spokes, 10 you're doing outstanding, and 1 you're doing horrible, what would you rate yourself in your mental, your thought life, in your spiritual life, in your faith, in your physical life, the health that you have, how much sleep you're getting, how much energy do you have, in your family life, if you go around? And what we find is that some people are doing pretty good. You know, they might be an 8 or a 9 in 3 or 4 of the spokes, and a 7 or 8 and 3, you know, a couple of spokes, and there might be one that's a 2 or a 3. The problem is if you have one spoke that's way off, your wheel's flat, and you go down the road like this. And so when I look at our law enforcement community and realize that they've got to have the same wheel as a civilian, except for they go to work and they get shot. They go to work, they don't know what door they're going to walk through next.
That's true.
They can't come home and share what happened during the day because they want to protect their family from that. And so what they really need is they need the relationship skills, the personal development skills, the specific how-to plan of action to create that balanced life. And they need the right person to deliver it. And that's what Ziglar Blue is all about. Ziglar Blue is about taking the Ziglar message and philosophy and then tailoring it and customizing it straight to the law enforcement or the first responder people, because they have a different circumstance. So Richard is perfectly positioned.
Yes.
Because you've been shot at.
About probably 30 or 40 times. I've been shot 4 times.
I'm going to stay away from you.
We're glad you're here today, no doubt
too,
about it. We're
me
glad
too.
you still give back to this community. It's an amazing journey, because we just don't see that side of it as often as we need to. And how do we have compassion in our community and actually do any healing if we don't recognize that?
One thing that we can do with police officers, I feel, and all first responders, the things they see, they can't go home and talk about it. The preacher generally didn't want to hear it once he finds out how horrific it was, the things that you saw that night. They're not equipped, generally in pastoral ministry, to handle those type things, suicides and much, much worse. And so if we can help get the police officers, for example, back into a church environment and a worship environment, whatever their faith may be, get them back in that relationship with God. And by doing that, it will help to boost that area up. Since spiritually, on most police officers, it gets very low. And I know it has been for me. I don't think I would have had a 2 on mine at one point, because of all the things you get disenfranchised as a police officer. You feel like you're by yourself because you tell people you're a police officer, and most people do not want to be your friend. So you end up having that isolation, and isolation is never good.
No.
And so if we can teach not only the police officer, but the family. So that's why we have, when the police or first responder comes, their spouse can come free
Excellent.
to the seminar, because it's about family. So that will help them with family relationships. That will help them with spiritual relationships. We're also going to be speaking to the church, which is the reason that the first one we chose is to be in a church, and actually the first 2. And within that church community, our goal is to get people within the church to understand what troubles and what needs the police officers or first responder may have, so they can know how to keep that person feeling welcomed into the church. And if we can do that, we can change this country.
I think that's very interesting because I remember attending for 3 years before I knew anyone, and I didn't know anyone until I started serving with someone. When I started serving and volunteering, all of a sudden I started having relationships because now we'd worked shoulder to shoulder, and it's one of the things that I love about this conference approach in the invitation to the general public and to the independent school districts and to everyone to understand that when these scenarios, and unfortunately, it's foolish to assume that they will not happen again. Right. We have to instead adopt that how do we protect our people, because they're all coming together, whether it's a church, whether it's a school, whether it's at the mall or city hall. These things are happening. We've got a very violent and escalated community out there right now. And if we are all in these things together, how do we know how to get out of the way when the officer's going to deal with something unless we are exposed to some of that same training? That's so important. How do I help in the middle of crisis? What's my responsibility as a general public when you got to take control?
Absolutely. So the conference is in 2 days. The first day, it's designed more for the mind, the body, the spirit. When I say spirit, I don't mean a religious spirit, but the spirit of determination, of drive, of not giving up. We have the best in the business, Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. He is a retired West Point Psych professor, Army Ranger. He was a sergeant in the Rangers. And he is the #1 authority in the world on human aggression and what causes that human aggression in our community. And so he's going to be speaking on how to prepare yourself, not just for a mass murder type event, which are happening everywhere. We can't close our eyes any longer. But what he does is help us to be mentally and psychologically prepared. And then we have one of our police officers from Garland. He was in a gunfight with 2 ISIS-inspired terrorists that came to kill children at a library or convention center in Garland. Right. And from 45 foot away, the bad guys shot, I believe it was 89 times toward him, and he shot and killed both of them with a handgun. They had ballistic armor as well as high-powered rifles. He did it with a handgun because of training. And then we have another one of our partners in the Blue Dragon, Colonel Jim Frawley, retired Marine Colonel, police officer, and does some government work. But he's been shot by ISIS, and he watches over our community. He's going to tell us what's happening in Texas as far as terrorist activity. We do have terrorists in Texas.
Yeah.
And so the first day, and then I'll be talking about the psychology and physiology of fighting, how to stay physiologically prepared. So it's going to be a how-to, a physical kind of a day. They're going to be sitting in chairs, but they'll learn some things that'll impact their life. The second day, also the best in the business, this time Tom Ziglar is going to bring hope and encouragement and how to, because he has a plan, he has a system to get you through the difficult times in your life, to have that balanced life. And then I'm going to be speaking as a police officer to police officers, how to keep the family together, how to keep a bulletproof heart. After that, we have an attorney, Mark Jones, another one of our partners with us, Susan, and he is going to help these police officers know how to be bulletproof financially to protect themselves against civil liabilities. But I think that it's something that's not been done like this before. This is the first.
Yes, and I'm so excited about it.
And it's going to change. It's going to change a lot of lives. I'm so thankful.
Are you excited about this conference coming up? Developing a Bulletproof Mind and a Bulletproof Heart is one of the most exciting things I've ever had an opportunity to be a part of. To get to know these gentlemen is just amazing, and we're not even done talking about it. When we're going to hear from a few of our sponsors and take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more with Tom Ziglar and Richard Morris about what Ziglar Blue is doing in our communities today to help solve these problems.
The American business economy is positioned as it has never been before. Professional videography is a core element for attracting a higher level of engagement with the people group you need for significant impact. Now is your time to shine. My name is Bill Brock, owner of White Rock Films, and I invite you to a powerful opportunity in the marketplace. An opportunity to draw excited people to your events, an opportunity to showcase your ideas on infrastructure, an opportunity to become known as the industry authority and enjoy the associated benefits of a strong, influential brand. Video highlights, video teaches. Video puts a resistant market at ease, and video stirs the hearts and imaginations of your allies and strategic client base. White Rock Films offers full audio, video production for businesses ready to embrace the future, handling your project with professionalism, experience, and polish unheard of in the industry. My name is Bill Brock, and White Rock Films wants your business. See us online at whiterockfilms.com.
Experience the Zeal difference.
It's my favorite beverage.
I never thought nutrition could taste so good.
I know it's why I feel the best I've ever felt.
Wouldn't start my day without this beverage.
Every once in a while, a product comes along that's so innovative, it has the ability to shake up how we feel about nutrition. You're about to be introduced to a one-of-a-kind nutritional powerhouse. It's scientifically formulated and backed by a landmark clinical trial. This wellness product has created a movement that has already generated over $300 million in sales. It continues to change lives, create a thirst in people to be healthier, and is inspiring generations in ways other beverages simply do not. It's called Zeal, and thousands of people worldwide, just like you, appreciate that it takes the guesswork out of nutrition and why it's loved by so many. If you don't experience the Zeal difference in 30 days, we'll refund your money. Join us in this movement and experience the Zeal difference.
And we're back. You're watching OffBeat Business TV, listening to OBBM Radio, or possibly even listening to the OBBM Network podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or maybe even in your OffBeat Business app, which I hope you've downloaded by now because we give you tons of great information specifically geared to the local family business. Today we're continuing our conversation with Tom Ziglar and Richard Morris about Ziglar Blue and what they're bringing to the new conference. We're kicking off a 6-city tour right here in Fort Worth, and inviting the entire North Texas area because we can do a better job of faster response when we have a crisis in our community and quicker recovery when it comes to our first responders and the types of things they see and the types of things they go through when they go back to their families. And one of the things that I like to point out as we're talking about these things is for the rest of us who are not members of our front line, if we are going to school and to church and grocery shopping with the families of people who are, and we do not know how to support our community and how to love them, how to show that appreciation for the role they were willing to take, whether it's that front linesman or the family who's supporting that effort. We can do a better job in our community when we understand the wisdom coming to us from the fabulous Zig Ziglar Corporation and what we're doing now with this beautiful combination, Ziglar Blue. You were saying earlier that there's some spokes that Tom was talking about. Do you think we should address specifically?
So on the second day, I'm going to be speaking especially about family relationships, about faith relationships, and about work and community relationships. And this is something that Tom's going to be doing as well, but then I'm going to go a little bit deeper in something that happens specifically to first responders to help them get through that tough time so they can keep the will balanced. And there have been times when spiritually I was bottomed out. And it's because, again, even in the church, people are nervous to be around you if you're a police officer. And they sure don't ask you what you did last night. If they did, we just can't, sometimes we legally can't tell them what happened. Sometimes administratively, and sometimes they just really don't need to hear these things. But I need encouragement as a police officer too. And so I would go to Zig Ziglar, and I went to, one time I was in great despair. I went to Ziglar for 9 months. I went to go to a Sunday school class at Prestonwood, and I didn't miss a Sunday for 9 months. Becky said, Rick, I think you need some Zig Ziglar. I said, you do? You're absolutely right. And I tried listening to the tapes and so forth. That helped. But something about being in Zig's presence or being in Tom's presence, you can feel the spirit of hope and encouragement. It's absolutely there. And so that helped me to get back up. So if I can help point the first responders in the right direction, how to lift the spirits by learning a simple system of encouragement and hope and so forth. It's a skill as well as an attitude. You have to have the skill to learn how to do these things to keep yourself into a good, strong position. And so I know that Zig and Tom certainly do that for me still and encourage me still today. I think our police officers, we just need to share it with them. There was a Las Vegas mass murder, if you remember, not long ago. I believe it was 1st October last year, and where many were killed and shot. And I heard one of the officers speak last week, and he said, what got me through the tough times is, after being out there and being in the middle of all of that, is I had a system set up. I already had someone that I could talk to. I already knew my wife, and we talked about this before, how I wouldn't be talking about it. I'm not going to be watching the news. Let's don't watch the news and so forth for our family until all of these things are done. For example, if you take a life, it may be a year before you hear back from the grand jury. And so you don't need to be watching the news, and you don't need to be subjected to that. Mm-mm. So for me, hearing that last week, it's just validated what Tom and I have been talking about for quite some time.
So it's about safeguards, which are so wise, but also about systems, Tom. Tell us a little bit about what that means for systems, because we kind of get it for business, but we don't think about systems when it comes to recovery.
When I think of systems, I also think of the word habits. So systems are what we put in our business. Habits are what we use to run our life with. And I have this quote, and the quote's real simple. The fastest way to success is to replace bad habits with good habits. The problem is we're not taught good habits. We don't learn from the get-go, and so there's a void there, and so we put bad habits in place. We're designed to sleep 7 hours a day or more. I mean, that's what we need for our brain to really function right. And yet we get into the bad habit of getting by with 4.5, 5 hours, and then we create another bad habit of caffeine and Red Bull and different things that are going to keep us up. Right. And our ability to focus and concentrate goes down because of that. And then we get into trouble. How do you know this? I mean, we know this because it's real simple. People who have problems at home, they take them to work. And people have challenges at work, they bring them home. And so the thing that I want everybody watching this to think about is, in your business, if you're a business owner, if you had a key team member, an employee, your star player, and they were only getting 4 hours of sleep a night, and they were having trouble in their marriage, and finances was really tight, and they were having a horrible diet and not getting any exercise, how long could you count on them? It'd be a train wreck. It's waiting to happen. And then what about this? What if your son or daughter was in an accident, and you rushed them to the hospital, and they needed to see the surgeon that was available to do the surgery hadn't had any sleep in 36 hours? Do you feel comfortable about that surgery? I mean, I wouldn't. It's just, we're all human. Yeah. And then you take law enforcement, first responders who are dealing with a heightened level of stress, and we expect them to balance their family life, their home life, their finances, everything that the rest of us take for granted that we have to deal with. And then they've got to go out, and then they've got to fix our problems. They got to protect us. They got to come in our time of need. Richard, the first time that this became apparent to me, in high school, a girl I was dating, her brother-in-law was a crime scene photographer, Dallas police.
Yeah.
So every day he was at the murder scene and he was taking pictures. So normal detectives and officers might see one occasionally. He was seeing them every day.
Wow, the impact I imagine.
And I used to wonder, golly, he seems like a nice guy, but he's kind of got this cloud. He's kind of got this thing of, distance. And then a little later, I thought, what would happen to me if that was my lens of life? Just seeing the worst in human nature on a regular basis. And so what we do at Ziglar and through Ziglar Blue is we bring the life skills to the people who need it most, the ones who are putting their lives on the line for us. And we teach them how to have the right kind of relationship with their kids and their spouse. We encourage them in their health and how to set goals so that they can have a physical body and a mindset that allows them to perform at the highest level. We let them know that it's okay not to have all the answers, that faith is important, right? There is something bigger than us. How many people go into law enforcement because they have a huge why? They have this sense of, I want to protect. I'm a sheepdog, right?
That's right.
I'm here because there are wolves out there, and I want to be between the innocent and the wolf. I'm a shield.
Yeah.
That's why they do it. And yet they get under the stress and people don't understand it because sheepdogs have fangs just like wolves do.
Right.
And we're glad they do. And then when they struggle a little bit because they're human, what do? That's what Ziglar Blue is about. And what I'm hoping for, Richard, is that people in the community will see this and they'll think, you know what, there's an officer that I know, there's a family in my community that I know, I'm gonna send them to this event.
Right.
Right? I wanna support them, I wanna reach out, I wanna have that face-to-face, that eyeball to eyeball. Not every citizen can go or should go even to this event, but I tell you what, there's somebody who's got your back right now.
That's right.
Who would love it if you reached out and said, hey, I heard about this. What if you could go? Can I talk to somebody in your department? Can I make a way for you to go? That to me would be a fantastic way that somebody in the community can make a difference and support those who literally put their lives on the line for us.
I love that, and I thank you
bet.
so much for for allowing the spouses to come in free. That's not a small thing, because Jiminy Crickets, I can't imagine the stress level in that of trying to navigate that space. And I'm sure they do it with grace. However, it's not easy, and we got to support each other. If I don't, for myself in business, one of the reasons I come to Monday morning devotionals, one of the reasons I do business coaching, I need my education continually replenished.
Sure.
I need to pay attention. I can't pull away from that and act like I got that part figured out, because as soon as I do, something's going to come up and I won't be ready for it. And we don't want these people that are taking that line of defense in our communities, whether it's firefighters, security, police officers. Man, we don't want them being vulnerable. We want them to be, like you used a phrase, at your highest capacity, right? We want you functioning at your highest capacity.
When I became chaplain in '97, and the chief asked me to be a chaplain, I had a civilian, Vicki Phillips, sweet girl, is a powerful, powerful Christian leader. She adopted me. And so what she and her husband and kids would do is pray for me every day, encourage me when they could. We went to some Bible studies together. We would go eat occasionally. And that was absolutely a lifesaver for me. We have a lot of people like Vicki Phillips that want to help our police. At least pray for the officers and for their families, because what they see is just too much. It's just way too much. Also, regarding sleep, when you work sometimes rotating shifts, or you work until 4 or 6 or 7 in the morning, it's hard to get yourself going to go to church. So if churches could have alternate times, evening and 1 in the morning, or have a neighbor church that they could go to, that will make a terrific difference, because if we can keep our police officers in a positive environment full of hope and faith, then we will not only change the officers' lives, but the way that they respond to the community.
Oh, that is so huge.
So I'm a business guy, and one time we were working with a client, and this client had developed a new surgical glove. And it was one of those cool gloves. It had ergonomics in it. It had different support. And the design was such that a surgeon who was going to be in surgery for 10 or 12 hours, it would actually support the muscles and the strength in the hand.
Oh, amazing.
Wow. Amazing. And they were having a hard time selling this glove, because the buyer of the glove would buy them by the case, right? Because they use so many of them in the surgery bays and the ER. They just run through them. And this surgery glove cost 3 or 4 times what the average did. And their question was, how do we sell this glove? And I said, oh, that's a great question. Here's the question you need to ask the buyer. Imagine you get a call from your wife, and your son or daughter just had an accident, and they're rushing them to your emergency room. And you know that the world's greatest doctor is in your emergency room and is perfectly timed there to help your son or daughter live. The only challenge is they've already been in surgery for 12 hours. Which glove do you hope they were wearing before they worked on your son or daughter? So the question is, when we look at law enforcement, when we look at first responders, the question is, when they come to you in your time of need, what kind of support do you hope they've had before they show up? That's what this event's about.
You bet.
Gentlemen, I'm just really honored that you came out here to be on OffBeat Business TV and to be on OBBM radio and share this information with everyone. Friends, Ziglar Blue is so new, they're still putting a website together, but you're going to be able to find this information in the text below the video or below the audio. Go to BDIC.net and find out where we are having these conferences. We're kicking off a 6-city tour right here in Fort Worth, and it's actually not very far from Dallas. It's a straight shot down 30, friends, and we are inviting the entire North Texas area. Once again, we are inviting first responders that include our police officers, our firefighters, security detail, ISDs, pastors, city councils. We all need to know how to do this better, and we've got room for you. Bring it. Bring yourself, bring your spouse, and understand how we can work together better so that we don't have to have these divisions in our communities, so that our officers can be replenished. And in the process of that happening, they're going to come back to our communities with some new eyes and that bulletproof heart and that bulletproof mind, able to go out there and protect us and protect our families again. Gentlemen, thank you again so much for being here. BDIC.net. Download the OffBeat Business app. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I think I did. Make sure you download the OffBeat Business app so you can get all this information in the palm of your hand and share it with everyone that you know. Until next time, you've been watching OffBeat Business TV, listening to OBBM Radio, or listening to the OBBM Network podcast.
You've been listening to the OffBeat Business Show. Find our lineup, podcast, magazine, event calendar, and sponsor information, even our membership directory, all available on the OffBeat Business app or at offbeatbusiness.com. Download the OffBeat Business app today.
Take this for me.